This is the special story of James Nandwa Nyende. James Nandwa started playing football at New Pumwani Primary School. He began what would be his illustrious career by playing as a midfielder in the inter-schools competitions. At City High School, he played tournaments at Ziwani Estate and for provincial league side Iteso. German tactician Bernhard Zroll and a player called Pirate trained Nandwa and other young players for 2 weeks before the former left for Nakuru. Nandwa remembers Zroll throwing the ball to a player to see his reaction. The player did what would be obvious to many players. He held the ball with his hands. Zroll asked the player if he was a goalkeeper. The player answered no, and Zroll told him he should have controlled the ball instead of holding it with his hands. In 1981, the gifted Nandwa played the Green Stars in the Provincial League. Green Stars had broken from AFC Leopards and their coach was Anyanzwa. When Nandwa joined Hakati FC, the team was playing in their top-tier league and Jonathan Niva was the head coach. The prolific goalscorer netted a crucial goal in 1981 which prompted Marshal Mulwa to call him to the national team. Some of the great players Nandwa found at Hakati FC were Jacaranda Ouma, Vincent Otieno, Peter Otieno Basanga, Apollo Oreso, Tito Onyango, and Peter Ouma, among others. Nandwa also played for Benham Holdings, owned by Clement Gashanja, a former KFF chairman and politician. James Nandwa joined KTM in 1983. At KTM, he would join the likes of Nahashon Mahila, Bulunge Edward, Anthony Ochieng, Sheldon Olimba, Joseph Kimani, Avedi Mujumbe, Jamal Farah, Patrick Lumumba Lilu, and the late Hussein Keri. KTM had about 5 players from Uganda. Paul Yongo and Juma Hassan were some of the players from Uganda. When Nandwa joined KTM, they were under a Ugandan coach by the name Hesbon Ndelwa and Twahir Mudin. Martin Ochieng Oswayo and Mulupi Makuto, rest in peace, led the list of the youngest opponents that Nandwa faced. Scarlet FC and their star players such as Washington Muhanji, Ambrose Golden Boy Ayoyi, and Jack Sihul were hard nuts to crack. Gore and AFC Leopards were in a class of their own. They were not in this contest. Nandwa says if you either played for or scored against Gor Mahia and AFC Leopards in the league, you had a very high probability of being called to the national team. Nandwa played for Al Bustan in Muscat for 2 years. Asked if language was a barrier, the cool man said their coach was a European, which made communication effective. Nandwa found some players from Zanzibar in the team who knew Kiswahili. Only 3 professionals were allowed to play in every match. The 3 professionals were given the responsibility to attack and defend at the same time. When defending corner kicks, all 3 professional players had to defend since their opponents also had professional players. The professionals would mark each other. Nandwa joined Utali FC in 1993 and the late James Sianga was the head coach. Here he met other soccer household names like Bernard Baya, Oti Oti, Elkana Swaka, Rogers Kadenge, Cliff Wayodi, Timothy Kibune and Gerald Origi. In 1997, Utali FC won the Kenya Premier League under coach Joseph Milimo. They played against El Merreikh of Sudan in the African Cup Winners' Cup, beating them 4-0 in Kenya and losing 3-0 away. Utali proceeded on a 4-3 aggregate. The next opponent was Etoile du Sahel of Tunisia. Utali won 1-0 in Kenya and lost 1-0 away. The Kenyan team lost on penalties in the match, which James Nandwa played as a stopper. He retired aged 38 at Utali FC. The fourth All-African Games were played from August 1st, 1987 to August 12th, 1987. 42 countries participated in 14 sports. John Ngugi carried the torch into the stadium in front of an enthusiastic crowd of 80,000. James Nandwa played for the national team from 1981 to 1994. He played in the top-tier league from 1981 to 2000. The consistently triumphant player was in the great Harambee Stars team that played in the fourth All-African Games in 1987. The team was dominated by legends such as Wilberforce Maradona Mulamba, Ambrose Golden Boy Ayoyi, Hassan Juma, rest in peace, Mickey T9 Weche, Wycliffe Anyangu, John Bobby $6 Million Man Ogola, Austin Makamu Odwor, Peter Omuga Dawo, David Kamoga Ochieng between the sticks, and of course James Nandwa. Fabisch, the German tactician, was in charge. Rest in peace. The team comprised of formidable players from Gor Mahia who later on won the African Cup Winners' Cup Mandela Cup. Nandwa says the Harambee Stars' success was super. That year, Harambee Stars trained in Germany for a whole month. This motivated them a lot. After training in Germany, Harambee Stars toured Egypt for a friendly match against the Pharaohs and lost 3-1. Nandwa describes Reinhard Fabisch as a coach who was patient, motivating, and trusted the players. The fourth All-African Games Football Championship was highly competitive and was played by senior players from the best footballing countries on the continent. The participating nations were hosts Kenya, Egypt, Tunisia, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Malawi, and Madagascar. Kenya won 1-0 against Tunisia, drew 3-3 against the indomitable Lions of Cameroon, and beat Madagascar 2-1 in the group stages. In the semi-finals, Kenya beat Malawi in a penalty shootout after a 1-1 draw in regular time. The Kenyans hence qualified for the grand finale from a 4-3 win in a match replayed. The initial match aborted when the lights went off in a floodlit encounter. In the first game in the semi-finals against Malawi, Nandwa says, "During that match, I saw the lights disappear. The match had to be postponed and replayed the following day. When we played the second time against Malawi, we were more serious and more organized," adds Nandwa. He points out that Wilberforce Maradona Mulamba was one of his greatest role models in that team. He says Mulamba could change the game anytime. Nandwa points out that Ambrose Golden Boy Ayoyi was supremely gifted. Kenya lost 1-0 to Egypt in the finals. Despite not reaching the finals, the Malawian team was in top form and finished third overall. In the preliminaries, Malawi had beaten Egypt 2-1. In the grand finale against the Pharaohs of Egypt, Nandwa played as an offensive player. Under Marshall Mulwa, Nandwa played in the Harambee Stars team that won the Sakafa Championship back-to-back 3 times. The 1982 win was the most emphatic. The Ugandan soldiers threatened the Kenyan players by exploding bombs before the kickoff. After the win, Paul Ngei came for the players with a plane. Nandwa remembers Marshall Mulwa as a mentor who selected good players. His 15 goals for KTM in the top-tier league ensured that Marshall Mulwa called him to the national team. Nandwa was the captain of the national team under Mohamed Keri. James Nandwa was the assistant coach of the Harambee Stars senior team from 2008 to 2009 and 2013 to 2014. He was the head coach of the Harambee Stars under-23 team in 2012. Nandwa has coached several Kenya Premier League teams such as Sony Sugar, Thika United, AFC Leopards, Rangers FC, Tusker FC, Sher Karuturi and Utali College. From 2014 to 2015, he coached Coastal Union of Tanzania. In his long coaching career, James Nandwa has won many accolades. In 2013, he was awarded the coach of the tournament in the GoTV Supersport Championship, which he won with AFC Leopards. In 2013, when Kenya was the host country, was crowned as the Sakafa champions. James Nandwa was the assistant coach of Adel Amuruche. James Nandwa was the head coach of the Harambee Stars when they reached the finals of the 2012 Sakafa Cup known as the Sakafa Tusker Challenge. The host Uganda beat Kenya 2-1 in the final at Nambole Stadium. Nandwa was among the top 3 best coaches in the Kenya Premier League in 2010 in the KPL Footballer of the Year Awards foyer. Benjamin Nyangweso of Ulinzi Stars topped the list, followed by Zedekiah Zico Otieno of Gor Mahia and James Nandwa of Tusker FC. Under his tutelage, Tusker FC finished second in the KPL.